Imagine a world where the fastest you could travel was the speed of a horse. A world where a journey between two cities took days, not hours. Now imagine a machine, a beast of iron, breathing steam, able to shrink the country, conquer distance, and change the very fabric of society. This is not a fantasy. This was the promise of the railway in Victorian Britain. And for a time, this promise was kept beyond all expectations. The story begins in the 1830s. The Industrial Revolution is at full steam. In 1830, the Liverpool to Manchester Railway is inaugurated. It was not just a success, it was a miracle of the modern age. Goods that took 12 hours to travel by canal now made the journey in 2. Passengers could travel in comfort and safety at the unheard-of speed of 30 miles per hour. Socially, Great Britain became smaller. For the first time, ordinary families could visit relatives in distant towns. Financially, the line was a gold mine, delivering handsome profits to its visionary shareholders and fueling the coal and iron industries. This new technology was the engine of real, tangible progress. The future was being forged in iron, and it seemed unstoppable. But this very real success laid the tracks for an unreal mania. The triumph of the first lines created a powerful and dangerous idea. The belief that any railway, connecting any 2 towns, would be a similar gold mine. The rational success of one project was extrapolated into a national fantasy of guaranteed, endless wealth. The government itself fanned the flames. Every new line required an act of parliament, turning Westminster into a battlefield for promoters and lobbyists, all seeking the right to print money on iron tracks. And at the heart of this storm, there was one man, George Hudson. A simple draper from York, not an engineer or an inventor, but he was a master of ambition and financial maneuvering. By 1845, the boom became a mania. That year alone, Parliament considered over 800 proposals for new lines. An animated map of Britain would show a spider's web of absurd and overlapping routes. And the railway fever was not just a British disease. It quickly crossed the Channel, sparking a similar speculative bubble in France that would face its own crash in 1847. Just like with the tulip mania a century before, a collective madness took hold of the country. Dukes and bankers, merchants and maids. Everyone was buying railway scrip, provisional share certificates. The mechanism was dangerously simple. You only had to pay a small deposit, say £2, for a £100 share. The goal was to sell the scrip for a huge profit before the next payment was due. It was pure speculation, based on the hope of finding a greater fool. Dozens of companies existed only on paper, selling shares for lines that would never be built. It was a scam worthy of Gregor McGregor, where the map was more real than the territory. For a time, the party raged on. But no bubble lasts forever. In late 1845, the Bank of England raised interest rates. Money became tighter. Speculators suddenly had to find real cash to pay the next installments on their shares. The panic started. Investors realized that Britain could not possibly build or afford all the approved lines. The promised profits were just an illusion. Everyone rushed to sell at once, but there were no buyers. The entire machine came crashing down. The share prices of even legitimate companies plummeted. Fortunes vanished overnight. Thousands of families who had bet their life savings on the promise of steam were left with nothing but worthless paper. And the railway king, George Hudson's empire, crumbled. It was revealed he had committed the cardinal sin of finance. To maintain the illusion of profitability, he paid dividends not from profits, but directly with the investor's own capital. Decades before the man who gave it his name became infamous, Hudson had perfected his own Ponzi scheme. Exposed as a fraud, the most powerful man in the railway world was left ruined and disgraced. His fall was the symbol of a nation's crash. So, what can we learn from this Victorian-era madness? First, the crash was not the end of the railway. Despite the financial ruin, many of the essential lines were eventually built. They became the backbone of modern Great Britain, and this reveals the most crucial lesson of the railway mania. It is the perfect blueprint for every tech bubble that followed, especially the dot-com crash of the late 1990s. The lesson is this: you must learn to separate a revolutionary technology from a speculative bubble. The technology was real. The railway did change the world. The internet did change the world. But the hype was not real. The belief that any railway company or any dot-com startup was a guaranteed path to riches was a delusion. The railway mania is a timeless warning about the dangers of hype, greed, and the collective madness that happens when a story of progress blinds us to financial reality. It teaches us that when everyone is certain they have found a one-way ticket to wealth, a crash is often waiting at the next station. If you enjoyed this dive into the great financial storms of history, subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And you, what great historical crisis would you like us to explore? Let us know in the comments.